And we're live. Good evening, whiskey brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 11 of the Canadian Whisky Journey's Whiskey Review. I'm Dolph. I'll be your host tonight. And I'm joined by Blair, Phillips, and Davin the Kergommeaux, right there and right there. The co-authors to the definitive guide to Canadian distilleries, the portable expert to over 200 distilleries, and the spirit. Hey, you should buy the book. And we're continuing our Canadian Whisky Journey with a review of Shelter Point Distillery's Ripple Rock Whiskey. And I'm going to click, let's just click that off and give you a picture of Ripple Rock, because it's a good looking bottle that you guys had. And that is what I stole off of right there. That's the article, which I believe everyone should read. And just if I can go into it, I think everyone should go to CanadianDistilleries.org to actually look at these articles. So, gentlemen, it's a name with Canadian historic significance. And Blair and Davin, could one of you please give us a snippet as to the significance of the name? And while you do that, I'm just going to throw up just a little bit of a quote down here. So
I'd be happy to let Blair do that.
Already. You're up, Blair, with history.
Yeah, so just up the waterway from Seymour Narrows from the distillery, back in 1958 and before then, obviously there was this underground mountain right in the middle of the Narrow, and this thing had a bit of an appetite for sinking ships and taking lives and that sort of thing. So in 1958, they finally decided that they were going to blow it up. So what they did was they drilled. It was a very complicated engineering thing they did. They packed it full of about 1,270 tons of explosives, and these explosives looked like if you took 4 or 5 whiskey tubes and stacked them up, so like a big, huge stick of explosive like that. Yeah, and when they set it off, it was quite spectacular. I think that the debris took about 10 seconds to fall to earth. And the engineers were all claiming success because they said that no animals were hurt. Somehow they magically were able to determine that. And the big thing of this was that it's the very first time that the CBC broadcasted a live television event from coast to coast. That's cool. So before then, I think in 1952, they would have hockey games, but you'd have to live in Montreal to see them. And so that's the big significance. It was the very first time that coast to coast live event, and now we have whiskey that should be enjoyed coast to coast.
And they said this time the distiller crew packed a new whiskey full of explosive flavor that detonates on the palate. And I agree. But before we get into this explosive dram, since Blair, you answered that one, I'm going to throw this over to Davin. Davin, this is the third time we've been back to us three to this distillery. Why do we love it so much? Why do we come back to it so readily?
Well, I think there are a couple of reasons for that, Dolph. First of all, it's because they make really great whiskey.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Canadian distilleries make great whiskey, but there are, maybe 4, 5, 6 now that have really moved into the forefront among the new distillers, and this is one of them. Yeah. Shelter Point is just fabulous. They make great whiskey. So we keep going back there because maybe it's because they were the first distillery on Vancouver Island. I mean, I think like there's probably 3 or 4, good whiskey distilleries there. Stillhead, outstanding whiskey. Sheringham, they make really fabulous whiskey. The trouble is their gin so good everyone's taking it. You got Shelter Point, you got Divine. So 4 great distilleries, great whiskey distilleries on Vancouver Island. And so, yeah, we're going to keep going back there just because everything they release is wonderful. It's like Yukon Brewers. Everything they release is wonderful.
I agree. Anytime something comes out, I'm there. And when they do the peat, I'm definitely there. So, gentlemen, let's delve into the explosive dram. Let's look at this. And while we do this, I'll just throw some information out at people. It's 750 mils, 47%. I forgot to ask Leon if there was a significance in the 47%. I was wondering if there was 47 related to the name of the whiskey, right?
Not related to the name. These guys have a habit of proofing their whiskey down to where it tastes the best. Okay. They're really good about that. So they don't pick a number You know, they proof it down, and when they think they've got it right, they're done.
They're done.
Perfect, yeah.
I was just wondering if it was an Easter egg, being so close to Easter ourselves. I thought it would.
No, I think that
no. All right, good to know. Again, their single malt. It was in bourbon barrels or ex-bourbon barrels for 7 years. Further 18 months in heavily charred number 4 virgin oak. It's sold in BC, in Alberta, and I found out Switzerland, which is really kind of cool. So, and online, but their online store is sold out. So if you get the chance in one of the hundreds of stores here in Alberta and BC to pick it up, do so. It costs around $75. So that's the information I got for you. And that's about it, apart from the tasting notes. And I'll tell you, this is 2 journeys for me, gentlemen. The nose and the palate were different and both equally enjoyable, but they were distinct for me. So I'll have your opinions, though, on the nose, please.
Well, there are many different aromas on the nose, but the one that strikes me, I'm sure the only reason I'm tasting or smelling this is because of the name of the whiskey. But you know, when you take a sledgehammer and you split a rock, and you get that mineral smell.
Yeah,
I can't get past it. It's just wonderful. It reminds me,
that's cool.
Now, were you in a 1958 prison to experience that splitting rock sensation?
Throw.
I declined to answer that question. No, this is Canada. I can't decline.
Oh, we're nice to people. We'll let you decline if you want to decline.
I have been in prison only once.
Okay, good.
And it was in Montreal, and I was there to entertain the prisoners.
Excellent. Okay. I was hoping for a more intricate story along the line, but that's good enough. I went to prison once. Me, gentlemen, it's fruit. It's all fruit for me. It's green apple. It's apricots. It's fresh green apple. I'm going to say pear. It's just tons of fruit on this. And the longer it stays out, the more fruity it became for me. This was out about an hour last night before I got to it. And by the time I did get to it, just a big punch bowl of fruit for me. I liked it a lot. So
I find it really rich as well.
I've got all that fruit, but I'm getting some of those tertiary flavors, like maybe chocolate, not bitter chocolate, not sweet chocolate, but the feeling of chocolate in your mouth. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
On the palate.
Yeah. On the palate. Oh, you're on the nose still, yeah.
No, it was just the nose. My palate was very different. I don't get fruit on the palate. On the palate, the chocolate comes out for me. That works. The wood spice. I couldn't figure out if it was clove or if it was ginger but there's a definite spice in there with the new oak.
Yeah.
It's a ginger for me.
It's ginger. Okay.
For me, it is. Yeah.
And that could work for me because a bit of the heat as well that comes with it. So like a ginger heat, like a spice heat, as opposed to an alcohol heat.
You know what really amazes me when you're tasting things is, and you get that heat in your mouth. You can tell if it doesn't taste like ginger, but that's gingery heat, or peppery heat that doesn't taste like pepper, but it's peppery heat and things like that. That's really interesting. I don't get any cloves on this, or not really very much in the way of cloves.
Can you hit a different spice then for us? Do you think, other than ginger? Because I'm good with ginger, but I was thinking allspice for a bit, and just no.
I'm good with ginger as well.
Okay.
But maybe ginger beer, something like that. But there are chemicals that just taste spicy, and they don't define any specific spice. Just as there are some that are just fruity, but you're not associating them with any special fruit. So,
well, that might have been the nose for me.
Yeah,
case, because I was all over the place, but it was very fruity, and I was trying to peg it down. The finish is medium long for this, which kind of surprised me. I don't know why I was expecting a short-ish finish, but it's a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah. I think what really is interesting is, when I got into single malts, 8 years old was considered a fully mature whiskey, and you really didn't go much beyond that. And now we like these really old malts, but that's because we've been trained to like them. And I think this is a gorgeous, fully mature, ready to drink whiskey. And I really love it.
Yeah.
I really do.
How about the palate for you, Blair?
It's the spiciness, and there's a lot of really nice dry timber notes. But I do get a lot of the fruit on the palate.
Do you? Okay.
And it is that hodgepodge of fruit that you're talking about, just a whole pile of different things happening. It's a bit
sweet.
fudgy, but without kind of, but like it's like fudgy without the sweetness.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe that. I don't know.
And cinnamon hearts without the cinnamon.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, I really like this.
I think this is
a bit caramelly, but not terribly sweet. It's maybe just the vanilla part of the caramel, maybe something like that.
There's a lot of things zigzagging in here and it's kind of, to me, creating one kind of big overall whiskey that, to pardon the pun, it explodes. I love it. It's probably my favorite single malt.
Yeah, I really like that. I think you're absolutely right, Blair, that it tastes like Ripple Rock. It's so beautifully integrated, so nicely synthesized that it's kind of hard to pull the pieces out, and because they're so beautifully integrated. It's I like that. I think these guys have really just done a wonderful job on this whiskey. It's outstanding.
Well, I always refer to Leon Webb, but is there other distillers with them that works with Leon? I don't know the name.
James also distilling. He was the original distiller, James Marinus, and he's still there, so he does that. I think that Leon is kind of the face of distilling.
Yeah.
But James is a farm boy who could build anything. I mean, any mechanical thing, and is really kind of responsible for some of the equipment that they have there. So I'm not sure. I don't know if Jacob runs the stills at all. I probably not, but I don't really know. And I mean, they had Mike Nicholson in the beginning just to kind of get them started. But James really was the guy until they hired Leon.
And he's been there 3 years?
From the beginning.
4? Oh, right from the beginning. Okay.
Yeah, James was there from the beginning. Oh, Leon? I don't know. Yeah. It was 3 or 4 years, yeah.
Okay.
Whenever Victoria Distillers started making Empress Gin, he moved over to
and they still want them to make gin. All right. I'm happy. Gentlemen, any last comments? Oh, no. Let's the finish. I said medium long, but do you both concur, or do you think something? Because the flavors, it's the same across, but it's long, so it doesn't really change in the finish for me. But it is fairly long. It's lasting.
Yeah, I think it's a long finish too. Yeah, I like the way that the sweetness lingers and the spiciness lingers as well, and it kind of just fades. I don't think I don't know about you guys, but I've really got tobacco in this as well.
You know what? Your article said tobacco, and I was looking for it, and I'm not finding the tobacco. Are you talking about a pipe tobacco?
No, I'm talking like burley tobacco leaves. I worked in tobacco 1 year. I'll never do it again. Okay. But there's some beautiful sweet kind of complex notes that come off tobacco before they add the chemicals and all that stuff, and it's really quite so. Cigarette tobacco, but burley tobacco. Yeah,
I'll try to find something like that.
I do get a little. I was getting it not on this glass, but I did back when we were working on it.
Mm-hmm. You know what you can do? Grow some flowers. They're called Nicotiana. Dry the leaves, and you can kind of get that flavor. If you get Export A, it's just way too strong. You buy cigarettes now; they're way too strong. But if you grow Nicotiana, and it's a garden plant, you can dry those leaves, and you can get some of those tobacco essences from it. It's like a wild tobacco. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, not a Not a pipe tobacco, not a spice tobacco. I will find that, kind sir. Any last words before we sign out, gentlemen? We hit the 15-minute mark. We're great.
I'm good. This is delicious.
Cheers, everybody.
All right. Find it, Ripple Rock, any place, $75. And cheers to all of you, and thanks for joining us tonight. Have a fantastic week. Ciao, gentlemen.